Good evening. You're watching NewsX. I'm Megha Sharma, and this is a very important forum that we are holding right now. There are the industry's bigwigs when it comes to hospitality and tourism, and we are trying to gauge what is going to be the future of the hospitality, of the hotel, of the restaurant business here on after they start opening up. Of course, this future is uncertain. It has gotten a massive effect to the industries, to especially the smaller and the medium-sized restaurants, because there is no help that has come in from the government. But what are the solutions that can be actually implemented throughout the industry? And this is exactly why we are discussing and we are having this very, very important chat. I'm going to introduce my guests over here, Manish Baheti, who's the founder, South Asian Association of Gastronomy. He is going to be my moderator as well, co-moderator over here. He's going to be hosting the show along with me. Welcome on the show, Manish.
Thank you.
Ankur Bhatia, he's the executive director of Bird Group. He joins me on the broadcast. Vicky Ratnani, who's a celebrity chef. Riaz Amlani, who's the CEO and MD Impresario Restaurants. Malini Agarwal, who's the founder, creative director at Miss Malini. Welcome on the show. Charu Prasha, who's a fashion designer, and Parinita Sethi, who's a chief editor and publisher at the Pinnacle Connect LLP. So welcome on the show, everybody. And I first of all straight away go to Manish. Manish, it is a changed world. There needs to be a pause button that has already been pressed by nature and everybody is bearing the brunt of it. But at this point of time, what is needed at the end of the day is to go about, pause, reset, renew, unlearn, and then relearn. How exactly is the curve going to go from here?
Thank you, Megha, and hello, everyone. The idea today is to present a collation of the various solutions that have been thrown up through various webinars and articles that have been doing the rounds, which the industry has been talking about. And to see if of those solutions that have been thrown up for the hotel and restaurant industry, which are the ones which are implementable. And from the consumer point of view, if those solutions are implemented, then does it give the consumer the confidence to then come back to the restaurants and go back to the hotels? So let me begin by presenting some of the solutions that have been spoken about at length. I think the biggest task in front of the hospitality industry today is to build confidence and trust in their brand. I think everything flows from there. And amongst other things that are important in order to make the business viable, confidence and trust being the first one, and then we move on to restructuring the employee strength. Some have said trimming the fat, some have said right sizing, but yes, that is a call for the industry with the reduced business. The employee strength needs to be looked at. And here a very important point that has come up is that the way to manage with lesser staff is through multitasking. Now, I can share this with you from experience being an ex-hotelier, that hotels have done this very successfully, where I remember in Trident Hotels, which I used to be a part of, the staff was trained in multitasking, where a front office assistant became a front office assistant in complete sense. So the member of the team was trained in handling bell desk, in handling concierge, in handling cashier, in handling reception. Something similar needs to be done in the restaurant business, which has never been done before. For example, the chefs have never walked into the restaurant. They have never had anything to do with what we call mise en scene, which is the preparation of the restaurant. They have only been involved in mise en place and vice versa. Never have the service staff ever done mise en place. They've only done mise en scene. And that is something which presents a solution in order to retrain the staff in doing multitasking. Another solution or a thought that has come forward is that we need to trim the restaurant menus. Gone are the days when the restaurants had very elaborate menus. It was also used as a power statement to position the restaurant to say, hey, you know, we have such a huge repertoire that we can offer you, made by our master chefs. Um, Another point is, are the days of the buffet over? Buffets have to be handled in a particular manner with the new normal that has come about, and there is a lot of apprehension in guests, going in for buffets. So how do we then uh, give that offering to the client, to the customers, where they paid a fixed amount, a fixed menu, and they enjoyed 4 courses or 5 courses, as the case may have been. When it comes to hotels, and this is especially for Ankur, um, domestic tourism, they say, holds the key for the revival of tourism. Staycations, short breaks, which are driving distance from the uh, from the consumer's point of view, are the way forward. And here a very interesting solution has come up, which is when we look at driving distance, and we Indians, love to take drives up to 7, 8 hours, is not a problem for us. But when you look at when you are driving to the resorts, let's say Ankur's resort in Rishikesh, what kind of world-class facilities do you have on the way, which are ideal stopovers, where again the guests have the confidence that if they stop over there, there is, it's safe for them to break their journey and undertake the refreshments. And herein, there is a huge opportunity where offbeat locations, which are typically stopovers on the way to some of the resort locations, present an opportunity for hotels to get into, to have another means, not only of solidifying their presence in the market, but it could be a very lucrative business opportunity as well. Because as you must have experienced yourself, there aren't very many quality outlets on the way which present the right opportunity for a stopover.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, let's open this up. And Riaz, I want to ask this question to you. As he has been mentioning, let's start off with the last point that is by Manish. Is this again a silver lining? Is there a ray of hope? Like you said, there is an opportunity over here because it's Make in India. It's Atmanirbhar Bharat is what Prime Minister has gone ahead and reiterated time and again. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, Megha. Yeah, I do agree with what Manish has been saying about having certain threats and those translating into different opportunities. And as people who are in the hospitality business, aviation, hotels, restaurants, are natural born optimists. We can't help but see the silver lining, even in a cloud as big as this. So, of course, we'll have to find new ways of making our businesses, and we need to kind of make minor changes. We'll have to make adjustments to make sure that we run efficiently and we tweak our business to attract a whole new audience, perhaps. Because obviously, with the clampdown on aviation, foreign tourism will suffer. So we have no other choice but to go after the domestic. So I think the hospitality guys are a resilient bunch, and they'll figure it out. You don't have to pivot completely. You just have to kind of expand your funnel to a different audience, I suppose.
Ankur, if you want to come in on this, especially, say, pivot a little bit. How does that bring about a change in the hotel industry, especially?
Well, the hotel industry, as you all know, aviation and hotel got hit the first of this pandemic coming in. I have hotels both in India and the UK, and I think both these markets were hit pretty much simultaneously on that regard, on that behest. How it'll change, I mean, obviously it's changed forever. I think so, because there's certain things, what just Manish just mentioned, like buffets and all. I think I don't think we will see buffets for a very, very long time. Larger hotels as well, hotels with mice and all, I think they would have a bit of a question mark for the mid to short term for their value proposition of whatever is happening. But I think technology is going to play a very, very, very important role moving ahead in the future. I think everything is going to become touchless. As you've seen how the skies have opened right now, and that's the way the hotels and restaurants are going to open up. I don't think people are going to go into the restaurants and don't want to physically touch a copy of a menu to order stuff. They would probably do it from the convenience of their homes or while they're driving into these restaurants. share their location once they're at the restaurant. The KOT will, or near the hotel and restaurant or the hotel, the KOT is going to print out the menus and stuff like that. So I think these are stuff which is there, which is, I think, a normal for us to move forward in the future right now. The thing is that, our industry will come back, and it's going to come back very strong. It's just this particular part of how we are transiting from, transiting in this particular phase of while opening up will happen. And eventually, worst the viruses have disappeared. And this will disappear as well. I mean, it's just that how we can actually ensure that we can keep our heads down and let the tide go over us. It's an important thing to do because obviously we can't fend for it. I mean, obviously human life is of course importance than anything else right now. I think revenues will come back for sure. And at this particular time, as what Manish also said, sort of a great thing of multitasking. I mean, I have hotels which are 300 rooms. I have hotels, the smallest one is 35 keys or 17 keys. And we've got lots of staff doing multitasking in those hotels and still giving 5-star service around that. So I think it's a mixture of all of that. And I think first what is going to open is domestic tourism. I don't think people are very happy getting into aircrafts and planes right now. I mean, you see seat load factors below 25-30% right now, even after lockdown for so many years. So driving in destinations across the country will be the norm to begin with.
But also, like, me as a consumer, as an individual, as a layperson, I have been seeing a lot of advertisements when it comes to contactless or going digital or going using a lot of technology. Like I had seen BMW coming about with this completely contactless service, and it's just being flashed across social media. Similarly, there are other many brands who are going, but are specific brands, your brand, doing something similar? Is it in the process? This is the strategies you need to build for boosting the confidence.
I agree with you absolutely. I think what's going to win in the future for hotels and restaurants to actually prove that they are a safe destination or a safe venue to dine in. And we've actually, now it's been 4 weeks, we've launched a campaign called Care by Rosette. And we've implemented all these things across, and it's also on social media, not as much as BMW, but it's got a fair bit of take across social media, and it's an evolving campaign. I mean, yesterday we just thought of why don't we start making or ask a factory to make sanitizers and stuff like that through that thing for our own branding and stuff like that. People come and buy, and again, I think it's the way it's evolving. I think Care by Rosette, I mean, it's also the fact that when you're entering a hotel or a restaurant, you should not feel that you're entering like a hospital kind of a scenario. So we've got ourselves, we've customized our PPEs. Our PPE looks like, when somebody saw that PPE, said, "Is it a dress?" I said, "No, it is not. It is a certified PPE." The masks, what we are doing, designed by 3 designers to ensure that it doesn't look like a hospital environment and still just creates that barrier across and to make people feel safe. So there are certain things which everybody would do to their own effect and to their own extent. How much are we able to get people back? Again, I mean, nothing is 100% foolproof. There would be incidences. I mean, you've seen that the first day of flying, there was an incident of somebody who was active and or was on a particular plane. So these things will happen. But I think, people are stuck in their houses for pretty long time. And I think they would want to come back as soon as this thing starts to ease up in the future. And also a lot of functions have not happened. I mean, there's a webinar which I was on just the day, like 10 minutes ago. So how would a banqueting look? Because we're not doing any buffets. And even 50 people, how would a banqueting look? Would it be silver service? Would it be minimal kind of a food on the table? So I think these are norms which everybody will work on to get to this fact, and it'll happen for sure, Megha. I don't think there's a thing. Sorry, Manish.
For you specifically, I have 2 questions. One is the way forward for hotels right now is to get into the business of home delivery. How viable do you think that is? Because your hotel and hotels which are established brands like yours, there is a trust factor and there is a confidence that the customers have in the brand. Number 1. Number 2, what is your take on investing at this time in creating world-class wayside facilities. Like you have a resort in Rishikesh. When the customer is driving from Delhi, which is one of your biggest source markets naturally, is there a world-class facility that exists right now? According to me, I don't think so. But do you think that presents an opportunity for you to invest? Obviously, you'll have to invest, and it'll have to be a branded facility.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Okay, let's take it one by one. So I think home delivery for five-star hotels like us, it all depends upon what your plan and how you actually reconfigure yourself. So we started home delivery nearly 4 weeks back, 3.5, 4 weeks back. And we started doing it ourselves. We didn't depend upon Zomato and Swiggy, while at the end of the day, they got on board as well. But majority of the home deliveries are actually happening ourselves. Now, one of the things which we said that how can we make it a bit different? So we give access, live access to our kitchen camera to anybody who orders food and delivery. I think that was the first. So so people actually can see how their food is getting prepared. We're making it completely touchless. We don't want to accept any cash, so the guy just goes and delivers to the doorstep of the gate or the society or whatever the person is living in. And I think it is going up. I don't think it'll ever replace the restaurant revenues of what we ever had. But it'll give us that impetus of keeping our people and keeping our chefs busy. At the end of the day, I mean, we are paying them. I mean, even if lesser salaries, and we are keeping the whole system up and running. I mean, a five-star hotel and the environment around it needs to run and breathe as anybody else would have. So I think it is something which is getting developed right now, and I think it'll go to the point of lots of choice which every individual has. We've got two good restaurants, got Chini and Kheer. And I think they are doing pretty well in terms of the delivery of that, of doing that. Now, wayside amenities, yes, very, very important. I think we don't have that infrastructure right now in the country. I don't think we'll be able to make that infrastructure overnight. So I think people will have to work with the fact of whatever is between here and Rishikesh, the Cheetal Lake or whatever comes in between in Moradabad, or whatever sort of comes in between, the Cheetal Lake and just after Meerut. If they want to take a pit stop there. So I think or in Rishikesh town or whatever. So those things are going to happen in the way they will work on.
What about, there will be a lot of these facilities which will be probably not able to manage business, and they might be available at...
Yeah, I think those are things which I think everybody will have to work on. I think the restaurant associations, everybody is actually working on that. Because I think it's an industry which everybody's got involved into it right now. And we need to ensure that every point of stop is secure. I mean, I'm just saying an example. I mean, one odd incident happens in one odd hotel in Paharganj or Karol Bagh. The whole industry gets hit immediately. I mean, you see what happened with Zomato, and everybody got hit with that. So we all need to work together to ensure that the whole thing works very well.
Right, absolutely. And before I keep the floor open for Vicky over here, just want to make a small announcement. We have a number of people who have joined us via Facebook, and we would be taking your questions. Please keep pouring in your questions, and this is a very important discussion, and all these experts are going to answer your questions, but we'll take 15 minutes at the end of this entire discussion to But Vicky, coming back to you, a very, very important point you made was, and I think it's interesting and it will definitely boost consumer confidence, having surveillance cameras inside the kitchens and then showcasing what is happening inside the kitchens right on those projectors perhaps, or those LED screens to ensure that every protocol is being followed. What's your suggestion also? The point of you cannot come to a restaurant and be treated like a patient at a hospital. How do you resolve this conflict?
I mean, I love the idea of the surveillance cameras in the kitchen. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it would be amazing to have a screen in the restaurant as well, and also showing the how the food is really coming out from the kitchen.
It has been suggested, yes.
So I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's like almost having an open kitchen in front of you. So so even if I think it'll be a concept by itself where you can actually see it happening in front of you. It's like watching a game or something like that, literally, but not. I think this is a really good idea because I was telling people that nowadays people are not going to ask you what's on the menu and what's good to eat. They're going to ask you, is this place safe to eat? So I think we have to be marketing our hotels or restaurants or our eateries as safe houses. That, you know, everything is very clinical, everything is done really well, done properly. It's a high time that hygiene came up with came out to its paramount importance now. So I think definitely the TVs, the surveillance TVs inside kitchens is a very good idea, and it's great for restaurants as well.
Absolutely. And also, query, in fact, one particular individual has asked, and I think this is a very pertinent question, with home delivery being the norm, rather than eating out, at least for the 6 months or 8 months down the line, even now, a lot of plastic is going to be generated. How exactly do we resolve this issue?
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of the people have kind of moved out of plastic. I don't think we're allowed to use, there's only a particular grade of plastic you're allowed to use. And, you know, I think you must be, the best part is that, you know, tell people that, you know, use them in the house. Like I use any plastic which comes to my house. I mean, I use it to keep my things in the fridge, and they become really nice containers for storage at home. Also, a lot of the packaging in a lot of deliveries I've seen are moving towards clean green packaging, which can be even used compostable. So, you know, the product in terms of, you know, even things like edible cutlery is somebody who's selling even edible cutlery made out of, I think, wheat and something and sugar and
wheat and jaggery.
Wheat and jaggery. So I think it's the whole, as somebody mentioned, that everything has got is into reset, reboot, unlearn, relearn mode, where food, the way we serve it, how we serve it, what we are going to be serving is becoming very clean, which is becoming more transparent. And this is going to be the USP of the future.
Also, that reminded me when you talk about cutlery and going green. I remember you go to the villages, they serve you food. I think they still serve you food in that patte ka
Patals,
right? And then that idea was completely patented by this duo that had come from Europe, and now they're selling like hotcakes. So that's something, one point to ponder upon. But Malini, lot of ideas being thrown about over here. You being an influencer and then having a direct contact with a lot of people, you know, you have a huge fan following. Are these ideas implementable, and are people looking forward to it? This is going to be helpful in the future for customers to return to restaurants, to return to hotels?
So I think it's amazing that the industry is really thinking about what they can do to make a difference and make the experience for consumers more comfortable and, you know, more viable. So I run a community called Malini's Girl Tribe, and I actually did address this question to about 40,000 women. And they actually came up with a couple of different things that are of their concern. So I think we're going to move after the lockdown from the concept of social distancing to ambient wellness, which is already a word that's picked up, is where now we're worried as much as about our surroundings, as much as we're worried about our bodies and what we're putting inside. So I really do appreciate the idea of the CCTV and all of that footage, but I think the bigger concern is, what do your staff do once they leave the restaurant? How are they social distancing outside of the workplace? Because you see all these really high-end restaurants have been sending regret emails, really nicely worded that, you know, we took every precaution in the restaurant, but we still had a case. So now how do I take care of that? So that's one big concern. I've been very impressed with this concept of DIY kits. Like I was telling Riyaz Smokehouse Deli's done it. I had one from Yazoo, the JW Marriott, Le Cafe, and they've done really nicely. And I like the idea of replicating the restaurant experience at home, which I think is going to be quite popular. But how do I replicate it even more? Right now, it doesn't feel very posh to do just home delivery, right? It feels like very on the go. But how do I make that more of a slow food, nicer experience where I'd like to order from specific restaurants because they create an environment or an experience around it. So can it come with some packaging? Can it come with some frills? Can it come with roses or a table setup that I can create? You know, so just try to create something that's interesting like that. I really do like the idea of rest stops and hotels that create spaces for us. I think one thing, I understand what you're saying about you don't want to feel like you're walking into a clinic, but I think there's a huge opportunity here for novelty restaurants. I think already in London, they have a couple of cocktail bars that have that whole vibe. I would totally go to something like that because I know it's safe. There's a novelty element. It's just like going to an ice bar or, you know, things like that, which is kind
The
of
pharmacy.
yeah, exactly, right? And then the other thing that obviously people are going to want to see is the basic hygiene, your foot pedal sanitizers, the bathroom hygiene, the spacing. But I think the most important thing is going to be how the restaurants communicate what they're doing. If it just looks like a laundry list of basic measures that you've taken, it's not going to resonate. It has to really feel like we care as much about your health as I do about myself. So I don't know how you tackle that idea and that issue of where does your staff go and how do they practice social distancing outside of the restaurant because we trust that you're taking every precaution. Yeah, sorry, Manish.
I'll flip that question, Malini. As a consumer, you and Charu, for example, who will come to shortly, what is it that will build your confidence and trust? What is it that you want to see happening in terms of home deliveries, for example, or a restaurant experience?
Yeah, so I think in terms of experience, I'd love some novelty. I'd like something that's so like I was saying, the DIY kit was a novelty. It was fun. It was different. I like the idea of your edible cutlery. The thing that's actually going to instill faith in a restaurant is honestly going to be time. So as we go out and it opens and we don't hear of certain, if you hear less and less cases at certain restaurants, just like you hear that the food is really good at one place, that builds trust. I don't think there's anything that you can automatically do to do that. But I think if you do have certain measures that are above and beyond what other people are doing, that's definitely going to have a big impact. And I would like to know upfront, what are all the measures you're taking? When I walk through the door, I should know what I'm, going to be getting. I think, personally, I probably will eat less with my hands. So how do you tackle that if you're doing Indian food? So the experience is still as nice. What is the experience on the plate, on the table? Obviously, I think we don't want to touch menus. So obviously you might have an app and a QR code that helps you order without having to go through a whole, a Zomato or a Swiggy app to find your restaurant. So things that make, ease of use that way. Sorry. Somebody saying something?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the other thing, sorry, last thing is I feel like we've always now become focused on health food and what to eat. That's going to become even more important. So people who have immunity boosting things on their menus will really stand out.
Ayurveda and wellness is supposed to be the next really big thing
Absolutely.
for hospitality.
In fact, I would like
India has taken the lead, actually.
Yes, in fact, I would like Riaz to answer this, and what is social or your other platforms doing about this? Is there going to be any sort of a good surprise that is awaited from for the customers, or even now, what brilliant packaging, having fantastic takeouts, that is going to boost. That is also going to make you a niche market than vis-a-vis your competitors.
Riaz, unmute.
Mega, we have seen that now that even with takeout, customers are gravitating to brands that they already trust, right? So because and they're moving less and less, they're ordering from dark kitchens and they're ordering from restaurants that they've actually physically been to and have actually experienced the hospitality in person. Because you can take all these measures to build trust from now onwards, but I think that the big factor is going to be the trust that you've already built with your customers, and then can you then take that forward? Because if your customer has that confidence that this restaurant has been taking care of the health and hygiene in pre-COVID times, we'll do it even in post-COVID times. So we're really seeing a change. Our dark kitchens models are actually going lower, but our restaurant models are actually delivering twice or thrice as what it used to. So we're already seeing this pattern that's happening. And look, everybody's going to be practicing the same basic set of things, right? You're going to do temperature control checks for people entering. You're going to do temperature monitoring of all your employees. You're going to make sure that they wear color-coded gloves, a few things based on their gloves, masks, face shields. All of that will be there. You'll be sanitizing off and touch doorknobs. You'll create automatic doors, or you'll create foot pedals to operate doors. So you'll do all of that. You'll convert your taps into contactless taps. You'll convert your flushes into contactless flushes. Everybody's going to do really that. You're going to put cameras inside. You're going to tweak your model, your menu, so that you can allow social distancing within the kitchen, which means that you will have to trim your menu down by about 30%, or at least 33%. So all these things, but I think what's really important is how do you do it? Because there'll be so much fatigue about we care about you, oh, we are going to do this. So it's also about your tone and your personality and how you communicate that. I think the greatest joy is not what you will do, it's actually how you will do it. So that is going to be the real distinguishing factor. And Ankush, he's been using design as a crucial differentiator between what everybody else is doing and he's doing. I think little personal touches, just little reminders without it being in your face. Like the last thing you want to see is a dude in a hazmat suit bringing you your food. And that's not what you
Absolutely, yes.
Can I just come in?
have a sense of normalcy. So I guess you can do it in a nice, sweet, not in your face manner, but just subtle hints to let you know that you got their back.
And before Manish goes, I just want to pose you this question that one of the viewers has asked, and Riaz, if you could answer this to me. They go by saying that since there are going to be lesser tables, more investment will have to be put into the hygiene and the SOPs that are going to be followed, the guidelines that will need to be followed. There are going to be less number of employees, perhaps. Is the cost going to get transferred to the consumer?
Look, the cost will not get transferred to the consumer. The cost will unfortunately have to be borne by the restaurants because, look, I think restaurants are going to have to work really, really hard because in the duration of the lockdown being lifted and the cure being found and whatever herd immunity being developed and this becoming a faded memory, in that period, we are going to have higher costs of operations and we are going to unfortunately have business significantly lower because we are going to follow social distancing. People's sentiments will be hurt. So we are going to have to try and make it normalized. And the only way to actually normalize dining out is to actually see people inside restaurants. So when you have to make sure that people are inside restaurants, you have to drive value as a very solid proposition, right? Because people are going to come across and they're going to, on the other side, liquidity and discretionary spending is going to be set. So it's a supply as well as a demand problem because in supply also you're not going to have all your goods, all your materials are not going to be available to you, and demand is also going to be affected. So we have to learn to live in a time where business top line will be lower and the bottom line would be slim or negligible.
And I don't know if it's possible address this concept of what do you do about your staff outside of the restaurant. I think that will actually have a very important impact on how people see it because you trust very much what you're going to do at the restaurant, but how do you control?
So Malini, right now our staff is pretty much quarantined inside our restaurants. I think that there's something that's not really spoken about. We talk about people in the healthcare workers who have to make personal sacrifices, but comes nowhere close to the guys who are actually living. There are 15, 20 people living inside a restaurant. They've taken up different corners. Of course, things will change when restaurants will start operating dine-in facilities also. But right now, all the people who are inside the restaurant are completely quarantined inside the restaurant. They're not allowed to go out.
And just to add that as well for the hotels as well. So Malini, we've got between all our 3 hotels. So in Rishikesh, we've got on-site dorms. So in any ways, whenever it opens, it's only on-site people who will come to the hotel. They're not going outside anywhere at all, and it's just across the road. It's just the same campus essentially of living. But between the 2 hotels in Delhi, the staff has been there ever since the lockdown has happened. But they're in proper rooms. They're not in.
And then sanitizing things that come in, your deliveries.
Everything is getting sanitized. But the only thing is now we'd have to live with this, no? So eventually people will go out and I think they will develop. So we are ensuring the staff who's coming in first of all, if somebody is living in a containment zone, they're not coming to the hotel for sure, even if they're living there. I mean, question doesn't arise. We are checking regularly the Arogya Setu app, which apparently is the way to find out that whether they've been in contact with somebody who's coming in, and that is necessary for anybody to come in to the hotel. I think it's a very important thing for all our guests, drivers, everybody, even somebody who's coming to deliver, the delivery boys, anybody who's coming into the hotel premises have to have a green in their Arogya Setu. Otherwise, they're not allowed to step into the premises. And people who do not have smartphones, we don't allow them to come inside at all. I think we'd have to just give that a sacrifice of doing things.
Can I bring in the element of design over here? I think what is being spoken about, and this question is for, of course, Riaz as well as Ankur and Charu. Minimalism seems to be the way forward for hotels, where the design now in hotels will include completely doing away with the directories, the vases, the carpets, the fabric headboards, the tea coffee makers, you see, because the least amount of things that are there in the room which require sanitization is going to give the customers the confidence of coming back. Now, when it comes to minimalism as the way forward.
Okay, just a minute. I'll just have to just tease back in. I'll just do a coming back, and then we can just touch upon the subject. We'll also go to Parinita and Charu.
Yeah, so I was bringing in Charu over here for the design thing.
Yes. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, give me a minute. Give me a minute, please. Welcome back. We are having a very important discussion, solutions, and what we are touching upon right now, the subject of design, how the dining experience is going to completely be transformed, and how design takes form of a different entity over here while catering to the people that are pouring in, the customers that are pouring in. Manish should want to take this from here.
Thank you, Megha. Now, what is coming clearly across in terms of surveys is that hotel designs, and this is a question for Ankur and for Riaz for restaurants, is that design will undergo a sea change. The world of minimalism is what is going to be looked at. Gone are the days when hotel rooms used to have flower vases, carpets, fabric headboards, tea coffee makers, directories, in-room dining directories. People want to have minimal contact. People are wanting to have, and the way forward is technology, where you have an app on your phone. It has the QR code right from the time of check-in to when you come into your room. The app will give you the room service menu. You can pay through the app. You don't have to sign the room service bill. But when it comes to the design, and if you take away all these elements which have the potential to be contaminated, how does that change the outlook from a hotelier's point of view, from a restaurateur's point of view? And Charu, I would like your opinion over here. We would like to hear that as a designer, where do you think you can come in over here, and how can that be something, both as a consumer, your thoughts on this in terms of getting confidence of staying in hotels, and as a designer, what do you feel about what is the way forward for hotel designs and restaurant designs? Charu?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, Manish, I feel the key is to address the concern of the client. And I think also innovation is the key here. Like you all said, that being minimalistic, but yes, in terms of, I think boutique hotels are going to work more for now. Also to use more eco-friendly fabrics, eco-friendly, have the whole environment very eco-friendly. Contactless, absolutely, having minimalistic contact with things, with humans at this point for a bit, because I don't think the virus is going to vanish that soon. And the fear psychosis right now with all our clients in every business is there. And to put that to rest, I think it's going to take a while, because it's been here for a while. So I think slowly and steadily, there is a lot of pent up demand for eating out or getting a takeout or visiting a restaurant or visiting your favorite hotel for that matter. It is definitely there, but I think the key will be innovation and just getting that fear psychosis out of your clients. And that will come when you ensure their safety. When they can see that if they're entering a hotel, they're going to be taken care from the point of entry to where they eat. That is one. And yes, in terms of design, I think we need to change everything, the way we display our hotel, our lobbies, our couches, our furniture. I think all that needs to be reinvented for now.
Right, absolutely. And technology playing a massive part of it, because the other day I was also having a conversation with these realty giants, and they went about saying that, one of the developers went about saying, we have created these farmhouses that are going to be contactless, touchless, wherein everything will be sufficient. You're going to have your hens and your chickens and your farm produce and all your vegetables. You're growing it every day, so that there is no sort of an external influence coming in. So that's one part of going over there and appeasing to your customers and your consumers. But coming back to Ankur over here, Ankur, is that sort of a feasible model that can also be brought about to the hospitality industry, selling this model of having a self-sufficient ecosystem wherein you don't have to interact with anybody outside of your world when they check into your hotel or that particular cottage or that particular farmhouse that you're selling the dream to the customer?
So it all depends upon the hotel and how the hotel is actually positioned. So there's, I would guess, two bits of it, or what is existing now and what would happen in the future. Now, what exists now is two types of hotels in, I would say, star categorization: the resorts and the city hotels. And then, of course, you've got the 3-4 stars around that as well. And I think they both are in the same category, or two categories of doing that. Now, as far as resorts are concerned, I think they can definitely work around an ecosystem that they are making themselves self-sufficient. We've got a resort in Delhi called the Roseate. It's in 9 acres of lush greenery, 65 keys. And we've got people, and I expect a lot of people coming in there, because obviously that's the only respite to a big city in Delhi with a lesser driving distance. Now, how and what value add can we do? I mean, the dining experiences, I mean, it's hot here, but we've got 3.5 acres of water. So al fresco dining options there. Again, maintaining social distancing, the way you might have seen certain videos of people dining in Europe in houses. I don't think that's feasible here because of humidities and the weather here. But similar kind of concepts developed around social distancing and within restaurants of service around that. In terms of design, I think our hotels in any case are minimalistic. We didn't spend a lot of time, so I think we are there in any case. And when we start making newer hotels, I think that is the touchless aspect is going to come in forward. So we are, for example, doing a room with Amazon with the Alexa and the controls, so that everything, whatever's in the room, can actually be controlled. The lights, the television, everything else can be controlled by voice, rather than touching surfaces of changing channels and ordering room service and ordering for laundry, stuff like that. So I think that is an easy thing to do now. I think cost of technology is not that much to get to that particular point. But even design, I still think the desks will remain in the rooms for a simple reason that the rooms might be used for now, for the future, for people and work from home environment for a very long time. They want to get out and work from a hotel room for a day and come back home. So we sort of try to market ourselves around that. We just recently had opened a co-working space as well. Again, we reopened that with social distancing norms and all. Sorry, Manish, you were saying something. Yeah,
yes. Speaking of the experience that you were alluding to, Ankur, I have a question for Parinita Sethi. PeakLife does the Gourmet Awards every year. And as a publisher and also as a consumer, Parinita, you will have experienced the best of restaurants and hotels, and you've covered them as well. The question here is, how do you think things will change now when it comes to the criteria, when you have to, for the nominees under various categories, what will change now in terms of an award IP that you have? What will change in terms of the criteria for judging the various nominees? And how do you think you're going to handle that? And is the magazine also going to change the way you cover food and restaurants? Is there something that you're going to pay more attention to now?
Hello, everybody. Well, eternal optimist in me seriously believes that this will pass and we are soon going to be back to our favorite restaurants and bars and enjoy the personal touch. Because without the personal touch, I mean, why would I go to a restaurant if I don't have a personal touch? I'd rather order in home. And we go to a restaurant basically because of the buzz and the socializing and everything. So I think I don't like the idea, and I'm sure nobody else will like the idea of having empty seats next to you. So there's going to be a lot of innovation that the restaurants will have to put in. Probably do something interesting in the empty seats. Maybe I read somewhere that somebody was planning to put in mannequins
Yes,
and
mannequins.
pop-ups and all in the chairs next to them, so that, and it could be a very good idea for the restaurant. Maybe they could sell those little extra chairs and those little tables to little pop-ups. Maybe Charu can take up one of those pop-ups and even display her products over there. So there has to be a lot of innovation that will have to come in to the restaurants, because whenever we go to a restaurant, even if I go to a street, I go to eat street golgappas, I talk to the person, I communicate with him, I smile at him. Over here, we are talking about contactless dining, and honestly, I don't understand what is contactless dining. How can you make food which is contactless? How can you go to? Why would you go to a restaurant if it is totally contactless? So I think we need to change that word contactless to something which is a little more amenable. But from a magazine point of view, yes, we have been covering a lot of information that we've been getting from the restaurants about their takeaway menus, about what they have been doing, the social work they have been doing, and all those kind of things we have been covering. As far as the awards are concerned, to be honest, right now to even talk about doing a Gourmet Awards is a little difficult. We will definitely think about it towards the later part of the year, and of course, the criteria will have to change. We cannot have the same criteria that we had last year, where the audience voted. In fact, I would like to put this question to the people in the panel: at what do you think our new criteria should be? Because we definitely can't have the same criteria for awards now. So I'd like to ask this question to Riaz, to Ankur, to Vicky. What do you think our criteria should be when we do the awards? Of course, right now, an actual awards with real people and a physical awards is not possible. Towards the end of the year, we may do a digital awards because it's nice to make people feel rewarded, awarded. But what should be our criteria? I mean, this is a question that I have for the panelists. What do you think our criteria should be?
Right, that's an interesting point. Riaz, you want to take this?
I have an interesting opinion on awards, but anything that helps to get the industry together, and I think a little appreciation goes a very long way. Just a little recognition is nice. It's nice to have. I think we restaurateurs have slightly undue share of awards. I mean, more than we deserve. But it's really nice because we get to see the same mugs everywhere, and we enjoy seeing them. And there's a lot of bonhomie and camaraderie between us. So we are very, very grateful. I think it's the same thing that used to be earlier. I mean, it's. I don't know if you want to give the most COVID-safe restaurant award, but I think the same things that made, I think, good food, good vibes, good storytelling. I think these are the three most fundamental things about a restaurant, and I think those should continue in the future as well.
Can I bring in a point over here, Riaz and Ankur? Hitherto, I think in most awards, one key stakeholder has not been taken into account for as a judgment criteria, which is the employees, the internal customer. Now, hospitality industry has to pay a lot of focus to multitasking for retraining. And do you think it is something that needs to be spoken about in the efforts that stalwarts like you will be taking, and therefore presenting a whole new roadmap to the industry to say that we have structured program, and this is especially for the restaurant industry, because Riya's hotels have been doing it, as Ankur also agreed with me. The restaurants need to do multitasking, and they need to have employees retrained in another competency. What is your take on that? And should that be made a focus area, and should that be spoken about?
I think Manish is a big thing about what is service expectation in India vis-a-vis what is service expectation abroad. And abroad, you go into the best hotels.
Correct.
You lug your bag to the reception, and then you will
Correct.
possibly lug your bag up. In our case, you will have one guy opening your door. There'll be one guy saluting you. Then there'll be a guy opening the door of your hotel, and then there'll be one guy just standing there doing this. And then you make. So we already made about 8 different contact points. But this is exactly what we expect out of hospitality. We expect my glass is half empty. I expect it to be miraculously topped up. There's one cigarette butt in my ashtray. I expect it to magically disappear in a fresh ashtray we put on my table. We expect turn down services 2 times a day, 3 times a day. So the kind of service expectations that we have in India are very, very.
My question here was.
I'm coming to it.
Yeah.
So the point is that when we walk in, there's always there's a lot of disguised unemployment happening in hospital. Right? So I think that it will happen. The change will come, because हमारे यहाँ कुछ भी हो जाए, even if it's contract work or labor or anything, every guy has his own show too. Right? If there's one guy painting, there'll be one guy holding the staircase. Right? This is a problem. We throw people at a problem with a lot of gusto. We don't throw technology and efficiency and capital investments as much. So I think that now, as you correctly said before, and you brought that up, retraining and multi-skilling and we cannot afford to have. You cannot only afford to have a cashier. The cashier better know how to make the cup of coffee. The cashier better know how to make it. Right?
Let's ask. Yeah.
So even food delivery. Otherwise, you used to have taking the order and the busboy, clearing the dishes. All that wouldn't change. I used to be in a restaurant working abroad. 3 of us used to manage a 80-90 seater
Exactly.
couple, turn around all the time. So it's a service expectation that we have to deal with. We can't make those changes without service expectations changing. This is a
that's good.
But I just add to that. So I add to that, Riaz. I think I have outlets both in India and the UK. I don't think it's I mean, obviously service expectation is there, but the way Indian hospitality works is that you rightly said that 10 people working, because the cost of the labor is such and we can all afford it at our places. But in the UK, that is not there. I mean, we don't even get skilled labor. And then there is the point of the cost there as well. I don't think service gets affected to that extent, right? I mean, I don't think there's a huge amount of differentiation in the way we serve. They're more efficiently done, and it's cross-trained that the front office guy can actually serve the breakfast as well. And I think that's important. It's good to get in here as well, because I don't think we are getting into any kind of normalcy in the next 12 months before a vaccine before a vaccine comes in, or a solid antivirus drug hits the marketplace. So till such time, everybody will be stressed on their budgets. Everybody will be stressed on that. And obviously what will happen around that is that we have to have reduced manpower. I think that's what we have. And then we need, and we've already, as Rosie at Hotels and Resorts, we've already started doing that in cross-training, because that's the way to go about it.
Right. My question is for Vicky Ratnani. He's a chef. He's been handling the kitchens for the longest time. Vicky, what is your take? Will the chef community, your sous chefs, your common 1, 2, 3, do you think they'll be open to retraining? Do you think they'll be confident in handling the service part?
I think more than willingly they will be. I think we are in the hospitality, and we will do anything to make our guests happy. We are in making the people happy business. Okay. And I think by now everyone has come to a point and realized that we all need to adapt and learn the way forward, how we are going to deal with it if you have to survive. It's going to be the survival of the fittest. You're going to need all your well-maintained physical and physical and mental ability and capabilities to go through this. You know, in the hospitality industry, as it is, we are under a lot of pressure. You know, pressure to pay back, pressure to perform, pressure of competition, pressure of keeping the standards and consistency is right. And I think a chef, a sous chef or a chef or any of my staff or even Riaz's staff will be more than happy to learn something new. And I think that is going to be a great experience. Like, you know, like when I started Oris, the lady used to take the reservations. She used to also at the same time go through the comment cards along with me. I used to, me being a head chef, in the evening before the restaurant opened, I used to go through all the comment cards and make the phone calls to my guests, etc. So I think this is going to be a norm. You know, I mean, multitasking, cross-training, one chef learning to work in 3 different sections. You know, it's not that, मैं bakery में काम करता हूँ, मैं सिर्फ bread बनाऊँगा. No. So I think everyone will have to learn, which is going to be an amazing experience for the guests eventually.
Right. So very quickly, one from Riaz and from Ankur, more for Riaz. In terms of multitasking, in terms of cross-training, Riaz, is there something that Impresario is working on, putting a structured training program in place?
Yeah, obviously, we are looking at every line on our panel. And we are reviewing every little line by line. We're trying to figure out how we can bring in efficiencies, what we need to tweak and what we need to change. So, you know, I think that it is a time where no stone will be left unturned to figure out how we can become efficient while keeping the core offering the same. I think that's very, very important. You can't change your core too much, or you can't suddenly start selling masks and sanitizers like everybody else. But you know, you have to. You are a restaurant. You are a social space. You are the third place where people are coming to actually. What's on the menu is actually social interaction, literally. Right, food is almost incidental. So I think that is the main focus. You can't get too carried away with everything else in the noise.
Because you know, you are the leader.
To increase efficiency.
You are the leader in the restaurant industry. The whole industry looks at you to take a lead on the cross-training.
No wonder we had so much trouble.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, my friend. Now, it's a feedback from one of the viewers, and it's a very valid feedback. The restaurant industry, hotel industry, needs to make videos in which they need to communicate categorically. There was a video which was doing the rounds from one of the leading international magazines, which I'm sure you had a look, which showed how you take home delivery. What are the steps you need to follow when the person comes to deliver your order at your doorstep? Now, those kind of videos, which give step-by-step procedure to people, clarifying to them, specifying to them what all you need to do, I think that is something which, you know, is food for thought, which needs to be customized more to the Indian scenario, where they see an Indian doing it with the human element in it. So people are literally shown walking their talk. And that gives the confidence to the people to order a home delivery. So I think you could take the lead on that, Ankur, Vicky.
It's already on, Manish. Our video will be out on Friday.
Absolutely.
Only short norms of how to enter, how guests will enter the hotel room service, how people will actually do. So we started to do it in-house initially, but we couldn't get the finished. I mean, the in-house video is already up and was already there, but we did not put them out. We've got a professional do it now, and we would be releasing it hopefully by Friday on all social media platforms around that. So I think a bit of investment gone in there, but I think it is important for people to realize that, you know, steps which we've already taken. I mean, it's one thing to put. I've got this. I mean, we're working on these formulas. Of that. Okay, by Rosiette.
Yeah,
And
it is
it's
sort
not
of.
a website, it's a color. You can actually visit our hotel website and actually see what we're doing across the two between India and the UK. But that's one thing. But I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I think once the videos are out, I will get more confidence of people coming in. With even the PPE, as I said, Charu, I think it's an important thing what you rightly mentioned. I mean, again, repeating myself, I mean, the PPEs, when they came out, people said it was the dresses, and actually, from an sort of an export order, you're not allowed to export PPEs. So from India to UK, they've actually gone out as dresses, because of the fact that, they're custom ones and they're like dresses only for people to actually wear. We can't afford to have PPEs which can be thrown out because we're not in that environment of a hospital where people are working with liquids and stuff like that all across. So we've got these PPEs meant where we can actually reuse them after cleaning them properly in some time, because otherwise it'll be prohibitive to actually do the costings around them. So I think it's an important thing overall to get that around, the all stakeholders, because the staff also has to be feeling secure that he's actually interacting with somebody who's just flown in from Canada, for example. He doesn't know what this person might have, and he might take it home or to his colleagues. So he needs to be secure as well, as much as the people who are coming into the hotel are. I mean, these are all the good part about our industry is that everybody who's working is well educated. Everybody is there. I mean, I don't think we'd have the strata of people, I'm sorry to say, which actually 7,000 of them queued at one liquor shop once it started to open, right? I mean, I don't think, we are in that category. So people do realize the consequences of not social distancing and doing and getting into those environments. Of course, I mean.
Right. But okay.
Riaz.
Very short of time. Just
Right.
a quick question. In fact, Malini, and in fact, before I open Malini, Vicky, very a question, a curious one that a viewer goes about saying, is robotic cooking going to be the next norm, next thing that is going to be guys on? What are your views on that?
Robotic cooking is taking place. In fact, it's happening in a lot of places abroad, and more where it is where it's a central kitchen and where it's churning out a lot of food at the same time, where you need. So it's more like it's not at the restaurant level where you have robots cooking. I don't think restaurants are ready to really invest in capex like a robot for them. We are the robots, okay? We are as good and sometimes better than them. So I think robots, as a concept, yeah, like some cruise ships have bartenders that are robots. I think it's Royal Caribbean or Carnival Cruise Lines where they have robots behind some of the bars. But in terms of kitchens in India, and I don't know if Mr. Ankur or Mr. Riaz will ever have R2D2 or someone in the kitchen. So I don't think, so restaurant is going to be, robots are going to be more for highly mechanized, repetitive assembly lines, if they may be, but I'm not sure about in hotels in India.
Yeah, I think especially when there's human touch involved to it, like anchors, perhaps they used to.
Exactly.
Companies have gone about producing robots that are going to replace anchors, and that never saw the light of the day. I think it's a similar thing for somebody as a chef or a cook.
Even food has feelings, and we give them that.
Absolutely, you need to have a lot of heart and soul in your cooking, and which communication shows exactly.
For Riaz, one question.
Yeah.
Riaz, videos communicating to people. What is the restaurant industry doing to make those videos and really give it the biggest push possible to tell them this is what you need to do in order to take your home deliveries? Where are we on that?
I think that we've made a lot of restaurant industry people in the restaurants, including me, have come up with their own videos about that. It's been doing the rounds on social media ad nauseum. The point is very simple. Look, as if you're looking at food delivery or food service happening at your home, like any other thing, like your milk comes home, ration comes home, mangoes come home, fruit come home, you have to use common sense. You have to utilize certain protocols yourself, right? Food, I mean, test after test has said very clearly that people don't get infected through food. It does not happen. You take these containers, you empty it out, you heat it up, you serve it. It's perfectly safe. These are things where I think people, there's no real cure for paranoia. It's a gradual process, and people are beginning to change their behavior and adapt, and it will happen.
Yes, yes, that's obviously the protocol that is supposed to be followed and will be followed, and you all are gathered exactly for that. Malini, quick parting words from you.
Well, I am a big fan of the hospitality industry, as you know, and
everybody is, yes.
Yeah, and I really hope that we can come out of this stronger with some more innovation. You should know that everybody is dying to come back out and visit all the places that they love. So you do have everyone's support. And I think if you just reach out and tell us how we can help and what are the things, and especially I speak for myself, and I'm sure other people as well. I think if there's anything you want to communicate, this is the best time to do it. Do it through your digital channels. Let people know, even for themselves, what are the things that they can follow. But I do believe we're going to come out past this. But I think the new normal will really see a revamp in hospitality. And I'm quite excited to see what everybody does.
Yes, absolutely. We are excited as well. I'm very excited as an individual, as somebody who loves going to bars and kitchens and everything. Parinita, parting words, what's going to be the future like?
Well, the future is going to be all about people being more innovative, people coming up with ideas. And I mean, we're all, like Malini said, we're all happy and we really want to come back to our favorite restaurants. But we don't want to come back where it looks like we've come to a hospital or we've come there, with a soulless kind of a place. So I really hope all the restaurants, the 5 stars, the restaurants will come up with some ideas where we will still feel like we are socializing, where we are enjoying the dinner, but of course, or the meal, but of course with safety protocols in place. Like I said, we're all dying to come back, and I hope that's going to be really, really soon. But in the meanwhile, we are obviously going to keep covering. We always do a lot of coverage on restaurants and food, which we're going to continue to do. We do a special gourmet issue, which we are again going to definitely do, and wherever we can promote whatever the hospitality industry is doing, we will be there to support it as much as we can. But we want to be back soon.
Of course, everybody wants to be back soon, and that's the combined effort that is being taken. Charu, what's going to be the future 6 months down the line? You and me sitting at a cafe, drinking coffee and talking about what happened pre-coronavirus and post-coronavirus.
I think, it's as soon as it came, I think it's going to vanish. Not that soon, but it is going to go away. This is not going to be there forever. So we all are looking forward to getting out, partying, eating together. But I think as a consumer, we all should understand one thing, that as a consumer, if we start taking responsibility also, like if like in Sweden, people are very conscious of their pubs and restaurants are still open. They didn't go down in lockdown. So if we are conscious of not transmitting this to others, if we do social distancing and we still go out and be conscious of it, I think we can make a difference too.
And on that note, I will like to end this discussion. Riaz, there's a comment that has been put forth. Would you consider renaming social to social distancing now? I wonder that could be a plausible idea. We love this.
Get down, then there'll be social distancing.
Yes.
Food for thought there.
We'll be socializing, but maintaining that little bit of distance that is required. But on that note, I thank all my guests over here. A very, very insightful conversation that we've had. I thank Manish as well, my co-moderator, for bringing about that insights, and all the guests over here. Vicky, we talked about Ankur, we also had Riaz and everybody else, Malini as well, Parinita, Charu. It's been a great conversation. It's been insightful. Again, another step when we take to building a future that is going to be coronavirus free, that is going to ensure social distancing, that is going to take into account SOPs and guidelines that are put in force. And at the end of the day, the idea is to bring back the customers, bring back the joy, bring back the love and glory of restaurants, of hospitality business as a whole. Thank you again, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and continue watching NewsX, because I'm going to get more of these special guests on our shows. A lot of industries that are going to be tracked over here, and what's the set of rules that are going to create the market, that are going to rule the market, that are going to be the new norms. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this. Had a lovely session and got to interact with all the big wigs of the industry.
Thank you, Megha. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Manish.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye, Malini.